Hasina Gori joins us in studio this morning to give us an update on what has since happened. Hasina, what is it, about 3 months now that the Campe report was released, and according to your report, absolutely nothing has happened in terms of the recommendations that have been placed there. Tell us more.
You know, you've brought this right where we're at. 3 months later, Campe report, which was established for two parts. One was to find who should be held liable.
Yes.
And they found that the city of Johannesburg and its entities, which is the housing and all the other departments,
yes,
should be held responsible. Yes. That this building was not supposed to be zoned as residential from the onset, when it was made into a shelter that allowed for homeless people to be brought in.
Right.
Then it was hijacked. They knew that rates and taxes weren't being paid. They knew that this building was being hijacked and nothing was done to stop it. That while we can put a blame to a partial part to Stembiso, Lawrence and Lelosi for starting the fire, the devastation and what we saw happening was due to the inability of the city to remove people from that building. That led to the hundreds living there. Now, 3 months later, I spoke with the mayor, who's in his new administration. He's just come into the space this week, saying that he's just been briefed only on Wednesday on the Usindiso building and what their response is going to be, when we had spoken with the previous mayor.
But this has been an ongoing problem. Everyone knows the state of the city of Johannesburg, the inner city. The Premier just speaking there a few moments ago, talking about the inner city and how just horrific it is.
Last 10 years.
The issue of hijacked buildings is not new. Clearly something is wrong here, because just last weekend, we had another fire in the Johannesburg CBD, and this was also relating to a hijacked building. It's insane.
And that's exactly what, you know, from the day of the fire, last year even, we kept saying that you can't blame hijacked buildings as if this is something new and foreign to the concept. Both administrations, whether it was the DA, whether it was the ANC, whether it was a collaboration of different parties, had different plans to clean up the inner city of Johannesburg. They come in with these great plans for privatization, for calling the owners of these buildings to sell it back to the Johannesburg housing company, that they can then take ownership of it, but nothing's been done. I spoke with the previous mayors like Herman Mashaba as well on this, saying that you guys had these plans in place, but nothing's being done. Now we're hearing from the Premier again on Wednesday saying they're going to have a summit in October.
A summit for what?
For interested parties to come and speak about what they think should be done for the inner city. They say they do not want to follow the suit of KZN, where they will just go in with force. They want to persuade. They've also complained before. We heard the city of Johannesburg saying that where they remove people, then Syrian human rights activists come in with human rights violations and legal cases. So they're saying that they've had their hands tied. But we've seen nothing change. And what we found with those that have been removed from these buildings, they were moved to temporary shelters, which were in Denver.
And what are the conditions there? That was my next question, in fact.
Completely cold. Firstly, unsafe because it's in an industrial area, close to the hostel. The way the structure was created was that there was flooding. You'd remember we reported on this quite often through the time. But when I went in this week, I went in on Wednesday again, and I'm told that from all those houses, all these structures that have been put up, only 17 families are from Usindiso. Most of them went back to the inner city because they're informal traders. This is so far.
It's a bit far from where they have to make a living. Yes.
Some are living in the squatter camp that is behind Usindiso building, quite a unsafe area. Some are under the bridge, which is what we're hearing on. Some children are not in school for the entire year since the incident because they haven't been placed. So these are the conditions of people that lost everything. They don't have papers, they don't have, some of them, documentation, and the numbers are both foreign and local South Africans.
Yeah. Now, I think what compounds the situation is that you were telling me just before we went to air that some of the loved ones have not even buried those who passed on in this fire yet. They're still waiting for DNA.
If you'd remember last year, we spoke just after the fire and we were talking around the fact that people were burnt, so DNA had to be used, and families were called in and they had to be tested. There were issues of those that were foreign nationals. They went through, from the 76, we told 17 are still in the mortuary. They either can't be identified or families are trying to get the DNA. There's one family where there is a mother and a daughter and they cannot link the mother and daughter together, so they cannot release both of them. There's others where they believe, I spoke with a lady that said her brother, they just cannot find his body. that there were others that the baby wasn't found and maybe months later they found him. And these are just the extra layers of trauma that we're seeing being done to those that were already affected by this devastation.
Yeah. Is there anything being done perhaps that you might know of to commemorate or to look back on this moment? Because I think for the city of Johannesburg and certainly for the Gauteng provincial government, that would have been the yardstick to say no more. We want to deal with the issue of illegally occupied buildings in the Johannesburg CBD. I think the last report that we saw, there were more than 100 illegally occupied buildings in the Johannesburg CBD. That is preposterous.
And we see these numbers continuously being, sent out. We see the second part or the second phase of the Campe report is to go into these buildings, to look at the prevalence of hijacked buildings, of these suspected buildings. That's been delayed due to logistical issues. They're also saying that they're being held because the COJ has not responded to phase 1 as well, so that they're held there. But when you talk about the commemoration today, we've seen nothing official by government, but there is the Marshalltown Fire Victim Support Group. They are gathering today, this afternoon, at the building. But I'm told by some of the family members that they are so devastated, that this is such a trigger for them that they may not be coming. Some of the human rights
to go back there, most of them or some of them have not received the closure that they would have wanted. Some of them have not buried their loved ones. Some don't even know where their loved ones are. And to go back to that building then would just bring it all back again. That would be, it's totally understandable.
So this afternoon, it is from 4 to 7. We will be there to see who does come out. So it's the community and the support groups that have come out. We've seen the human rights activist groups, lawyers that have helped and assisted, really trying to seek justice for everyone that is. And, when we speak about the Usindiso building, I think it illustrates all the issues that we have in the city of Johannesburg. The issue of alleged hijacked buildings, criminality, that where lawlessness is so prevalent, but also the foreign national issue, which is a thorn that we need to also address, that is happening, but also the internal migration of people that come in from around the country to seek opportunity in Johannesburg, the city of gold, and then find themselves in a building where they're sharing with hundreds of others.
I've been into some of those buildings, with some of the investigations we've done, and literally you would see 20 people sleeping in one room. All that separates families, women, children, men, it's just a sheet.
And that just shows the level of people's hope that they have, but the desperation to build a better life that you'll put yourself, your families. I remember, on the day, we would never forget those people standing outside the building, a mother crying, looking for her child early in the morning. There was a sister looking for her brother who was a lawyer, South African lawyer. There was, I remember outside the mortuary, brothers coming to find the body of 2 of his sisters who were teachers from Nkandla, who were living inside that building. So really showing that while it is a foreign national issue, but there was also local South Africans really coming to build a better life, and this was where they found themselves. And we need to talk about the issue of housing within Gauteng, which has been a huge issue. So Usindiso really highlighting all the issues, as you said, for the city of Johannesburg to really come out and say, enough is enough, we will do better. But hopefully this new administration, this new GNU that we have will bring that change that we need.
I think that's the hopes of many people, including those who still remain devastated and without any hope. Those who have been in the Johannesburg CBD. And I think it will also be a little bit unreasonable to expect the Gauteng provincial government to be able to house everyone. Every day you have an influx of people coming into the Johannesburg CBD, coming into Gauteng for better prospects and opportunities. That's why we're here. Well, I guess at least me too as well. Right. That is why we are in Johannesburg. But we'll touch base with you a little bit later on, Hasina. I'm sure the other programs will cross to you. Thank you very much indeed.